Hey everyone, how's it going? Delrith here, bringing you an impressions video this time on Wolcen, Lords of Mayhem. I don't think we're going to get a full rapid fire on this because I'm in the middle of reviewing Tarkov and I'm about to take a trip to go elsewhere to go get something very special. But I wanted to cover this game and just give you my impressions that I've had over the last, couple days of playing, or I guess you could say trying to play. And just to be clear and fully transparent, this is the second time I'm recording this, because the first time that I recorded this, it was very negative. The game had been unplayable for the last 3 or 4 days since launch, and it's just been a miserable experience trying to get on and play the game. And I had an online character. There was a lot of things that I wanted to show and showcase online, and it was just not available. The game had just had horrible connection issues. Online was down for most of the last 72 hours, and I even had a few bugs like my character getting deleted, my stash getting deleted, and it's just been widespread chaos and problems for Wolcen since it launched. But now finally I'm able to actually hop in and give you my impressions of I guess a completed character towards the end of the game, and really show you how mechanics work, what the skill tree looks like, and just generally how the game plays and feels. Now, I didn't want to really spoil anything in the main story for you. All this stuff you're going to be seeing is basically the end of the game. This is like the adventure mode if you were going to compare it to Diablo 3, and it's worth noting that this game pulls heavily from what Diablo 3 is. There's a lot of times where I'm playing through and going through the game and just killing stuff, and I just think I'm in Diablo, and I have to sit myself back and realize, oh, I'm playing Wolcen, because it is just so uncannily familiar in a lot of ways that it's really hard to not draw the parallel. I mean, the first thing off the top of my head that's going to make you think, oh, Diablo, is the fact that Bladestorm exists, or Whirlwind, Cyclone, whatever you want to call it. And it's just so many things are so obviously inspired from or taken from Diablo 3. It's hard not to say that they were trying to get very close to it, as close as possible even. So this is adventure mode. The game is completely done at this point. I will say this, if we're going to talk about the game's cutscenes and everything it has to offer, everything is voice acted. Everything that in regard to the main story is very well done. The cinematics are top notch. The voice acting is good. The story is satisfying, except for the ending, but you'll see what I mean if you actually play the game. And so I have to give them huge credit for that. There's no complaints as far as actual story, cinematics, and voice acting goes, and I've just genuinely enjoyed all that, and I got to give them props for putting that much effort into the game. Now, as far as the stability of the game goes, and how well it's been behaving, there are a numerous amount of bugs in this game. The polish is not there. From what I was told, they only really beta tested Act 1, and Act 2 and 3 have been nightmares. You've got things like stashes getting deleted, you've got stuff like bosses having phantom hitboxes, you've got quests completely not working, you've got bosses being completely bugged out and doing abilities they're not supposed to do in the wrong order. You've got waypoint problems, you've got sound issues, you've got all manners of things. I mean, this summarizes it perfectly, right? This is an Anthem level of a mistake, of an example of how unpolished a lot of the corners of this game are. This is a weapon. This is a unique weapon, okay? This isn't a randomly generated weapon. This is a hand-created, unique weapon that is an unknown weapon and has a error as an icon. And that pretty much summarizes a lot of my complaints with Wolcen. It's just super underpolished and super underdeveloped in a lot of ways, and you're going to be finding yourself dealing with a lot of frustrations and having a lot of issues with the game in general if you go and actually try to play it right now. Aside from all the bugs and the horrible problems, just throw them aside, the game's endgame is pretty good, and the combat and skill systems are pretty good, and I'll show you what I mean. This is like the Graver Rift system of Wolcen. That would be the best thing to compare it to. This is like the map system in Path of Exile. If you play Path of Exile, there's even map slots for giving special content and special maps a go. But yeah, so you get to create your in-game areas where you get to do a lot of things: productivity, enemy level, magic find, all that fun stuff. Productivity is actually used over here in the in-game construction menu. This will let you do everything from upgrading certain crafters to getting in touch with a bunch of unique dealers and vendors and whatnot I haven't gotten yet, because it honestly takes a very long way to go and a lot of effort to get to. But I like it. I gotta say the end game's a big plus, and we're gonna hop straight into the combat and let me show you how all that works. Now I'm gonna roll modifiers because I like Magic Find, and generally I can get some good ones that don't really mess with my build too much. Now this is basically there was no winning there. It's just extra boss modifiers, but you can do this a lot. You can go a ludicrous amount. You can get some really crazy modifiers. You get to handcraft every map. I'm totally down for that. So I've got 100% Magic Find. I maxed out the bar. There's still some stuttering and some lag issues I've noticed in FPS, but other than that, everything seems pretty fine. Now you're immediately going to notice that something I'm doing looks really familiar, and I'm essentially a hammered in. If you know what that is from Diablo 3 and Diablo 2. And this is my entire build. I run around, I crit things, I walk between packs, and I just kind of blow everything up. It's all about resource management, and I gotta give it a big props to the whole resource management system in this game. That's one thing that's drastically different than Diablo 3 and Path of Exile, is you don't have a finite amount of resources. You've got your willpower and you've got your rage, and using one fills the other. So you're essentially just going back and forth and trying to dump the one you don't want to use by using skills that use willpower, or dump those skills that use rage, and it just enables you to basically ping pong between the resources and never run out. So it makes you never are feeling bad and unable to do anything. And if you do use a lot more of one than the other, like I do, you can definitely use potions. Like I have rage potions to compensate for that. And it's just generally nice. I like it. Combat is very Diablo 3. Enemies are very Diablo 3. It just feels like Diablo 3 going through here right now, and a lot of you are going to be able to see that. Especially with the little side areas, the little extra bonus loots, all that stuff. Now the way you get to the end of this is, of course, hunting down enemies, Greater Rift style. You're going to spawn a boss at the end, kill the boss, proceed to the next floor. They didn't bother trying to deviate from that from Diablo and all of its seasons. In fact, it's an almost carbon copy of how the Greater Rift system works. But it's not bad. One thing I will give them credit for is there's a lot of min-maxing possible in this game. You're not really bound to anything specific. You're not really forced to play any certain meta. There's a lot of different builds you can do because it draws a lot of inspiration from Path of Exile skill tree, and I'll show you that in a moment. And I gotta say, it's what I wanted from Diablo 3 in a skill tree, but basically in another game. This game is the tweaked version of Diablo 3 I've always wanted. It's just incredibly buggy. But yeah, let's look at how skills work. So skills work the way that you would expect them to work. You get to pick your skills, drag them onto your hotbars. However, instead of having like a set number of runes you could do at a certain time, like limited to 3 or 4 or whatever, you can basically go wild and grab as many as you want for the number of points you have allocated. So it really allows you to customize what each and every skill does with its own independent level, and pretty much level it up the way that you want. So for right now, I'm running Bleeding Edge, which is a spinning axe. I'm running increased area of effect. Axe continues to spin after being thrown. Normally it would only go out once, and the axe now follows me as I move. With Blade Storm, I have a bunch of stuff. I actually have 2 points available. Just increased damage. But I'm running crit chance when I kill an enemy, increased crit damage, etc., etc. Doing this and being able to customize these skills in this fashion reminds me a lot of support gems and links in Path of Exile. And I'm okay with it. I think it's fine for what it is. It's unique enough that I like the way that you can do some pretty crazy things. And there are even skills that'll fully convert certain abilities into different elements, which of course synergize with the skill tree. The skill tree itself is very Path of Exile-esque, with every node giving you a small bonus and the notables in the big nodes giving you big bonuses. A good example of this would be the Furious Appetite node, which is over here for me. I basically do not regenerate willpower anymore. Everything is... Normally you always regenerate willpower. This makes it so I'm only regenerating rage, and my willpower regeneration is applied to rage instead. And I generate rage instead of willpower. There's a lot of other nodes like this too that do random things that are huge bonus. Like I get 25 rage per hit taken. This is just flat crit. This is 100% more crit damage when I crit, but 30% less damage in general, etc., etc. Now, the big thing that separates this constellation skill tree from all the others, something that I appreciate, is the fact that you can rotate these daises any direction you want, basically depending on, you know, things that you want to do. So if I wanted to do this, I could, if I wanted to have access to a different skill tree, I could easily rotate this and connect another skill tree to it. This allows you to combine pretty much any sort of build that you can imagine, and this is something I haven't seen before in an ARPG, and I totally appreciate the customization without having to go all over the place and being forced to go in any specific path. Rotating the circles is super, super helpful. But let me just finish up this rift real quick, and it should be a good impression for anyone at first glance. I am simply going to continue murdering all these dudes with my spinning blades of death. As you do in these situations. Now, I could pull a Demacia and just spin on everything, but nah, I do so much more damage when I'm not spinning. Bladestorm's just nice because it gets me from point A to point B a lot faster, but I am a Hammerdin. I'm an Axerdin? I don't know what you want to call this build, but I throw axes. That's generally what I do, and only what I do. Now the boss is ready. Boss spawns in a preset location. And I'm gonna run over there and kick his ass. I really do appreciate that Bladestorm is faster than normal walking. That was something that annoyed the shit out of me in Diablo, was that Whirlwind was slower than just standard running, which didn't make any sense to me, but whatever. I'm not even going to bother looting anything because I'm at that point where you're only rocking you. Hey, a red chest. I'll take these gems. Yeah, this guy is actually one of the most dangerous bosses, but he just gets deleted anyway. My damage is pretty ludicrous. Now, at the end of a rift, you have the option to basically go down further and keep going until you hit the end, and then you get a huge bonus for finishing it. Or you go back to Stormfall, which is the primary town of the game. Generally, I go back down, and I keep going down until I hit the bottom, and then I finish it for a big bonus to productivity, which benefits everything. But yeah, that's pretty much Wolcen. That's everything in a nutshell for you guys. And I guess the question now is, with my impressions and everything I've dealt with, would I recommend this game to anyone at all? And the answer is yes, but actually no. And what I mean by this is that I could see this game being worth the $40 price tag in like a month and a half, 2 months from now, after they've managed to fix all the horrible game-breaking issues that really pull away from the primary experience of the game. There were a lot of really frustrating things that I had to deal with in Wolcen that, through leveling, I got really frustrated at. And honestly, you'd probably get a much better experience just holding off until they patch the hell out of the game, and all the issues like your stash getting deleted and your character getting deleted and hitbox problems and boss bugs and loot drop issues and magic find problems, all that's patched. So no, don't buy Wolcen right this minute. Yes, buy Wolcen in like a month or two, or maybe a couple of weeks depending on how fast they patch, and save your money and see if they actually support the game, because there's a lot of things that shouldn't have persisted past launch, which I think was the 13th. And when you see the forums with people reporting these character deletions and stash deletions like 7 months ago and they weren't fixed, it really makes you worry about the future of it. And it has a lot of potential. Wolcen as a game definitely has a lot of things that it does right, and a few things it does wrong, and the right outweighs the wrong once they get the patches in, and then it'll be worth your $40. But yeah, that's my impressions of Wolcen. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you liked it, do me a solid, hit that like button and subscribe. And if you're already subscribed, ring the bell to get notifications on all videos posted on the channel in the future. Until the next video, be it an impression or a rapid fire or whatever the heck, this is Delrith, and I'll be seeing you.